I'll figure out what I'm doing eventually here. I basically don't. I have a plan, like that plan in my head, but I didn't sketch this out ahead of time to figure out the composition, which I probably should have done. I want the perspective to be a little more extreme, so I'm going to try to keep, just going to keep erasing and scooch this figure until I get where I want it, basically. I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. That's closer to what I was going for anyway. I no longer know what's going on with the head, now that I've redrawn the body like 4 times. So it's not picking up on camera, but from my angle, I'm getting like a really weird glare from my light. So I'm like, I can't see what I'm doing. I guess that's better. All right, we'll get there. I'll get past the underdrawing stage at some point here, I swear. All right. Try to attack of the rolling pens. Okay. Try to clean up some of this underdrawing here so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Because as of right now, I've got a lot of scribbly scribbles. I like to kind of just get a base idea of where hair is going to be a lot of time doing these inked pieces. And then I refine that a little bit more as I go. All right, trying to get a bit more. So yeah, not a fun, lighthearted piece today. I'm looking at the prompts for this week, and a couple of ones this week are not terribly fun or lighthearted. I got a couple, or even just like the fun kind of spooky. Like some of them are fun and spooky, or just plain fun. Because I've got one. I'm doing one at Inktober later this week. But yeah, this is not one of the fun, spooky prompts, or just one of the fun ones. I don't know. Sometimes you just want to draw something that's kind of so, I don't know. Where are we at on time? We're like only a few minutes into this. We're like 10 minutes into this. I will save my spiel for later. Also, I'm starting kind of late on the stream this evening because I was out. I actually left the house on not exactly a social call. It was, there's this. So, okay, let me start from the beginning. Hold on, back it up. So I live in Maine, northern Maine, for those of you who do not know. The nearest, like, for reals town to me is Bangor. And the Bangor Historical Society and cool people therein, every October, they do this tour of this awesome 300-acre historic cemetery right outside of Bangor called Mount Holly. They like to do the spooky tour at night every October, but obviously this year they had to totally rethink how they were going to do it. And so ultimately what they landed on, rather than taking like huge tour groups of 60 people through, which is no bueno, they instead decided to go with having like a small force of different interpreters to be stationed at different places around the cemetery and have like very small groups of guests navigate themselves from site to site. And I volunteered to be one of the interpreters. Obviously, they usually have like a couple of people who do these tours. The way that they're structuring it now, they needed a bunch more. So I volunteered to be one of the speakers, one of the locations. And this afternoon / early evening, we had a mostly daylight orientation walkthrough of the cemetery route because it is very large and we needed to know where we were going for those of us who were not familiar, like myself. So yeah, that's going to be weather dependent. That's what's happening the weekend is I'll be doing those tours. Hanging out in a cemetery Friday and Saturday night and talking about a monument, which is really cool. So yeah, if you happen to be in the area, you should definitely look into still. Well, they're getting still good because they're selling pretty quickly, I guess. It's nice because it's something fun and spooky and educational to do that can be done about as safely as you can do anything that involves leaving your house right now because it's outdoors and you can stay masked and stay distant from people and it's pretty great. So I'm excited. I haven't gotten to go and do many things, socialize with other adults much in the last, going on 7 months now, I think. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Haven't gotten to do much for a long time, so I'm very much looking forward to this weekend. I don't want to get too lost in the individual twigs here. I'm just going to kind of make some guidelines for myself for where these are going to go. It takes a fair amount of wood to actually set a person up these, so. We're getting to the point where I'm almost done with the so I finish getting these. So I finish getting these little twiggies, bundles of twigs. Bundles of kindling, kind of roughed in for myself. Then I will be able to finish up the figure and then start doing inks. That more of these stick bundles. All right. That's the basic outline. We got our basic outline. Yes, it's depressing. I'm sorry. Ink. I just did one of those art subscription boxes last month, and they say this ink. No. My cat really wants to be involved. Sorry. No, you cannot. This is not where you belong right now. If you want to sit next to me, you can sit next to me, but you can't be up on this. She desperately wants it up in her. Anyway, as I was saying, so one of the things that came with it is this Indian ink that I have never tried before until last night. I tried a little bit of it by Royal Talons. I don't know. It was hard to tell how great it worked on its own last night because I was doing it in a mixed media thing and paper was kind of saturated with liquidy inks I had used previously. And no, and be gone, fell beast. No, come on, really? I'll do later. Just let me work, please. You can sit in my lap later. Now is just not the time. Oh my god. The cat thinks he's the boss. Okay, fine. Sit. No. If you're gonna sit, then sit. Oh my God. Literally trying to knock my drawing board over with his butt. You're so not helping. You guys. He's literally right there. What a butt. What an absolute butt. All right. As I was saying. So yeah, I'm going to give it a try tonight on this piece where I don't have a bunch of wetness already on there. It's got a very strange, it's not like a dropper. It's just like it's not like there's no dropper. It's just like this weird situation. I don't even know what you'd call that. I guess it's kind of still a dropper. It's just not like the squishy pipette dropper like I'm used to. Oh well. All right. So I'm gonna start with this one. Let's start with this nib. Ah, I dipped it way too far in the ink, making a mess. I forgot. It's a very full bottle. I just opened it. All right. So we're gonna get this started. We'll see how I like this ink. Been having some trouble, as with a lot of things, right? Having some trouble applies, and that includes ink. Ink blue has been out of stock on the Winsor & Newton permanent in India for like months now. Makes me nuts. I had to buy like a little, I normally buy the full ounce bottle and I had to get the 14 milliliter or whatever. Just like a joke. Like I'm going to use that so fast. I use so much ink. So this ink seems to flow really nicely. I'm not convinced this is the best paper for it. It seems a little bit, I guess it's not too bad. No, you can be on my lap, but you can be putting your face on my, can you see my cat's nose? That's my cat's nose at the end of my pen. You are so not helpful. Don't you dare. I don't know why I let you get away with this sort of thing. Little jerk. All right, my plan is to do this one all in nib. We'll see how this goes. Part of the whole art challenge thing is not just challenging myself to do a new illustration every day, which, I mean, I do draw every day. I do produce something pretty much every day, even if it's just kind of like working on something and not really completing it, working on something. So they just do a thing every day is not really the part of the challenge for me. So I like to challenge myself with things like, you know, do techniques you don't normally do. So I have like a pretty set way that I normally approach illustrations. And so being like, you know what, I'm going to do one, you know, just all nib or all brush or ink wash, which I've tried a few times for some reason this month. I'm still not any good at ink wash. I'm trying. I did several fairly nice ink wash pieces for a Baker Street supplement a million years ago when we were still doing Baker Street supplements. That was for the oh geez, I forget what we called it now. I can't think of it. But it was the London source book, and it had the Ripper campaign and the Hound of the Baskervilles type one. I think the best ink wash piece I've ever done was my Hound of the Baskervilles type illustration for one of the Baker Street books back when we were actively working on Baker Street. But that piece took me forever. I just went super slowly, did not let the ink wash do a lot of like fun, out of control, just see what it does type thing. I basically just did it very slowly and methodically so that I had complete control. So yeah, this kind of depressing piece for the prompt of witch. Sorry, it's not like a cutesy witch sona or anything. It's just not. I have a lot of thoughts about the modern of the word witch and the weird sort of feminist reclaiming of that title. For the record, before I go on this rant, I do consider myself feminist, and I think if you don't consider yourself feminist, you're either actually a misogynist or you just don't understand the term. If you don't want to align yourself with certain feminist spaces or movements, that totally makes sense because some are bad. But the idea that women should be treated equally in society, not a controversial opinion. It's just not. It's just not. But this whole like weird reclaiming of the title of witch and like attempting to make some sort of weird like rebellious, almost weirdly sexy sometimes idea of like, oh yeah, I'm a witch and you're gonna try to burn me for my thoughts or existence or whatever. I kind of get the idea, but at the same time, I feel like it really loses sight of how horrible those things were. When you start using these kinds of terms and ideas and imagery for really stupid, mundane shit, and trying to be like, yeah, I'm the witches. Their grandparents were the witches you failed to burn, or all of this crap, just because you're out and opinionated. It's just like, no. Just no. I feel like people bandy about this kind of imagery in a really frivolous way sometimes. I get where the notion comes from, but I feel like if you actually studied more of what this is actually about, what actually it was about historically, and actually gave some thought to how horrible it is, that it's a little bit weird and kind of yucky to evoke that imagery frivolously. Especially like people like to talk about, especially in the US, people like to talk about like the Salem witch trials and a witch hunt and all of this sort of thing. And what they're talking about there is kind of like a just social hysteria of like, you know, people who are weird or outcast and or outspoken or whatever, or just unpopular being targeted. But for one, pretty much no one was ever burned in the US. Everyone was hung if they were convicted of a very short-lived period of history. That did not go on for very long. For one, because of the period that it happened in which it's like, hey, guys, there aren't that many of us. There aren't that many of us who live here in these colonies trying not to freeze and starve to death. It's essentially still the wilderness. We should cool it on murdering each other. Especially for no good reason. Who were burned at the stake in Europe around the same time and centuries prior were not specifically burned for being witches. They were burned for being heretics. And heresy doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're, you know, communing with dark arts or whatever else kind of really romantic and titillating imagery you think of these days. Heresy could be something as simple as being the wrong flavor of Christian for the place that you lived, or belonging to any sort of Christian cult, which took a non-traditional or non-Pope approved interpretation of the Bible. So a lot of the people who were tried and convicted of heresy were not even actually anything other than just different types of Christians that, for whatever reason, did not pass religious muster. And yeah, obviously it's the kind of accusation you can levy against anyone in order to continue to exercise control or to take out political rivals, or, you know, an even more mundane kind of sense, you know, take out someone whose land or property you want. Because what are you going to do? How are you going to actually prove that you aren't a heretic? Like, what does that mean? Well, I say you believe this, so I'm going to say that I don't, so that you don't kill me. Well, too bad. We say you are, so we're going to torture you till you pass. It's a no-win scenario, and that's really insidious about is didn't even have to actually be any of these things. You didn't have to even actually believe any of these things. When these types of things are sanctioned by the state, it's really just an excuse for anyone to take you out for any reason, and just use this complete bullshit reason to do it. Also, since the charge was actually heresy and not specifically witchcraft, the reason why women were burned is that men, when convicted of heresy, were drawn and quartered, which is truly grisly. If you would like to look that up, I'm not going to depress on my stream, but it's bad. It's super duper bad. And being burned was actually considered more humane than being drawn and quartered. I don't know if I think that's really true. I think both of them are really horrific ways to die. And I think the other thing that when people bandy around that imagery, they don't really think about is that burning is a absolutely horrific way to be killed. And, you know, usually you just see like depictions of the sort of thing where the woman is just like, oh, I'm all like draped against this post, or I'm all defiant or whatever, and it's not usually like the actual horror of it is not really well represented most of the time, I feel, with rare exception. Again, heavy asterisk on this of that, yes, I know how horrible days and I know how horrible a lot of Cerberus is, but parts of it are good. I know he's a horrible person. I haven't bought any of his books in a very, I'm talking like over a decade, long time, because I don't want to support him because he's horrible. But some of Cerberus is actually good. And there was one part where they talked about how horrible it is to get burned at the stake. I feel like is actually one of the best depictions of how horrible that would be. And it wasn't even images, it was just text. But it was pretty fucking terrible. Anyway, so yeah, I don't feel like the actual grab horrific sort of thing is well represented. But yeah. The kind of thing that you have to be careful of is when belief is a state-sanctioned reason to start torturing and murdering people. Except, you know, we're not murdering them, we're executing them. You can't be legislating belief because you can't actually empirically prove that people believe things. You just say that they do. So it's a real problem because you can say that anybody believes anything. And if all you need is a forced confession for it to be the case, then it's pretty easy to get that. This is all very rambly, but we have a lot of thoughts about it. I don't particularly care for the way that people have tried to reclaim witch as some sort of weird empowerment thing. I don't really jive with it. If it works for you, then good. Like, whatever works for you, fine. But basically just the reasons for reservations and the whole thing. Trying to get some of this, some of the shading and detail in here. This is also what's freedom of religion is not just freedom to practice religion, but a disallowal of the state to say that we have an official religion. Because if the state has an official religion, then they have the possibility to tell you which religion is wrong. And if the state is allowed to say that your belief is wrong, then they can act punishments for something you can prove. All you can do is go on. And you can see how that's kind of a bad situation. But that was included in the US Constitution in the very beginning is because of this era, this very dark era in European history where people were murdering each other with state approval, or at least the state's complacency over their differences and beliefs. We're not just talking about, like, you know, more obvious things like people clearing out Jewish ghettos and murdering people of completely different beliefs and ethnicities. Talking about the fact that in Germany, Lutherans would drown Anabaptists, like drown Quakers, because they weren't Lutherans, and that's what you're supposed to be, Germany. I will remind you that Lutherans and Quakers are all considered Christians. The Protestant divide. This whole thing. I read a rather dry but very good book about this whole subject several years. But if you really want a look, like, just how messed up the state being allowed to say whose religion is allowed or not can be, that was a good book for it. Cat, what are you doing now? Now my cat's doing, I don't even know what, under my desk. All of this to say that I also totally get, like, wanting to find something like this, identify history, especially as women, we don't get a lot of great options of what to identify with historically. And, like, I get it. I just don't really like it, and it just doesn't jive with me, and those are the reasons why. I'm not going to tell anybody that they're wrong for finding something that they find speaks to them, empowering them, whatever works for you, as long as you're not harming anybody else, you go for it. But I just don't feel it, and that's why. Oh, okay, so this is the part where I regret my decisions, because these stupid sticks are going to take forever. So that's fun. I am pretty certain that this is not the right paper. I'm getting some, like, you can't really see on the camera at all, but I'm getting some blurring around the edges of my strokes here. And this is on completely wrapper, so I feel like this is probably not the best paper for this ink. I remember now that I tried some of this. This is the Bean Fang? I don't know how to say it. I'm bad. I fail at art supplies. This stuff. Oh my god. Good job, Amanda. This stuff. Now I need to fix my camera. because my camera got knocked out of its holder because I am a wreck. Okay. That's camera. Camera, please. Camera, please. Okay, that's better-ish. For several years on my Canson, which is what I usually use. I usually use the Canson XL for comics or basically anything. Maybe I'll try some of it on the Canson and see if that helps. Maybe it will. Or maybe I'll just decide I don't like this. Any number of factors could be at play here. Let's see. So we're at 40 minutes. So now the question is, how many of these stupid sticks can I get done in 20 minutes? Why did I do this to myself? Somebody better leave a comment. Give me something else to talk about, because I have now exhausted my rant of the feminist reclamation of witches and religious persecution, and yeah, I've got a lot of sticks to draw. So many sticks. I am regretting this. Gosh, Amanda, why do you do these things to yourself? Why? Lordy, lordy. It's like a different bundle on top of that bundle, like a lower bundle. So I'm hoping that the different layers will appear somewhat distinct from me. It won't just be like a big muddled mess. That's what I'm hoping to avoid. This big incomprehensible mess. Oh, I'm out of frame a little bit. At least my cat finally stopped asking me. He seems to have realized that that was not working very well. He was on my lap for a little while I was trying to work here. Mm-hmm. All right, got some little flamey bits going on here. But yeah, the whole tone I was going for with this one was just kind of like, I just want it to look more, wanted it to look more like sad and hopeless and like that kind of final moment of like giving up when you know that it's over. Sorry, that's very depressing. But yeah, I just, like I said, I get kind of tired of the like weird, we're so badass type witch imagery. It's like, no, this is a bad time. This is not a I'm such a badass time. This is just a bad time. Okay, I try to also not knock my drawing board over with all my stuff on it, because that would be bad. I'm thinking tomorrow's image is going to be all brush instead of all nib this time. I feel like that would be a haven't done an all brush one for a little while other than the ink wash, so I feel like that would be good. Next, good next one, break it up, just try to keep it fresh and interesting for myself so that I stick with it. I've been doing pretty good so far. I'm getting there. Making pretty good progress on this pile of sticks too, I gotta say. My phone is making bonking noises. Someone is trying to talk to me. I am busy. I'm busy streaming. You're gonna have to wait. I'm not sure how I want to approach this. I'm just gonna keep on making perplexed noises at myself until I figure out how I want to do this. Or I'm just gonna kind of fling myself at it in any which direction and hope it starts working out. I had not really given too much thought to how the other side of this stick pile was gonna, the ends that are like facing her, how is that gonna look? Like a mess, apparently, the way that I'm doing it. Okay. It would help if I had like a pile of sticks to look at, I think. So I could analyze the shapes and come up with a good way to do that. I think that's gonna have to be as do a little bit of obscuring some of that mess. Okay, yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm sold on that, but that's what's happening. We've got a little over 10 minutes left. I'm gonna keep working on this side. I'm making better progress on the of steps than I was expecting to in this amount of time. I think I kind of got a system going now. Well, or I did until that side had to go and confound me. Fill some more of that in. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that works. Get these various little piles of sticks. It's actually looking better than I expected, so that's good. All right, so let's see. We've got a little less than 10 minutes left. So while I work to, I don't think I'll quite get the pile of sticks done before it's time. I like to keep these to an hour because at the end of the hour, I need to get up and stretch. You should get up and stretch. We should all go get a drink. Got to stay hydrated. So that's my first thing. When I turn this stream off, you better get up and stretch and then go get a drink. Get yourself some water, some herbal tea or something. But anyway, so I'm Amanda Call. I am working on my October Art Challenge Day 20 prompt. Usually on this channel, you'll find me working on different illustrations or on my webcomic Age of Night, which updates every Wednesday. And you can find at ageofnight.com. That's ADEOFNIGHT.com. I'm starting a new chapter right now, so it's a really good time to go in and catch up on the backlog and jump in on what's going on now. You can find me on Instagram at @art. You can find me on Twitter at Age of Night, spelled the same way as my comic is. If you like watching me draw, I've got these live streams I do every week. I also have a bunch of like time-lapse instructional videos on my channel you should check out. You should definitely, if you enjoy this, subscribe and like the video and share it with people and all the things, all the YouTube things. You're here, you know what the drill is. Do all of that. Also, if you want to help support my work, I have a Patreon, so that's patreon.com/ageofnight. You get all the Age of Night pages a week early. Additionally, you get, when I do like actual edited videos, not in the middle of this crazy art challenge thing, but like other times, my regular video content, they get a week early as well. My patrons do. Depending on what level of support you decide that you want to give, you get other free comics and stuff, so it's pretty cool. Other little projects, comic projects as I get them done. Other art. Try to make it worth my patrons. I very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate any and all support I can get. Oh, I should also mention that the prompt list I have mostly been working from this month has been from the Scrawl-o-Ween prompt list, which is a fundraiser being put on by the Cartoon Art Museum in California. They have been closed since March and just trying to keep their awesome little comic and cartooning museum afloat. So they've got a cool fundraiser going on. There's a bunch of us different artists who all have created different illustrations for the different days, but I'm also mostly following that prompt list. I'm not today because I forget what their prompt was for today, but I wasn't feeling it. I wanted to do my own thing. I can be obstinate like that sometimes. So you should check out the Scrawl-o-Ween fundraiser from the Cartoon Art Museum. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video when I'm done here. And yeah, if you donate, then you get a chance to download Haya's copy of the different art that a bunch of us professional comic artists have been contributing for it. And some of the original pieces are also going to be up for auction as well. I put mine up, or, I put mine in as able to be auctioned, and I think they'll do that later on at the end of the month. So it's cool. It's a chance to score some cool art and support an awesome comic art museum at the same time. So I gotta love anybody who treats comics like it actually deserves a museum, which it does, but a little don't feel that way. So greatly appreciate anyone who understands that there is value in academically studying comic arts, said the lady with a comic art degree indignantly. All right, I think that's going to do it for tonight, folks. I'm almost done with this image. This was the prompt of Witch. I just have a little bit more of the little pile of brush to do, and then this image I think will pretty much be. And yeah, I'll post that on my Instagram and Twitter a little bit later this evening once it is finished. So thanks everybody who came and hung out and watched me draw, and I'll see you next time.